I ask for grace to understand that gambling is a waste of time and resources. Turn it to prayer. Say, Father, I ask for the grace to understand that gambling is a waste of time and resources, that I shall not be a victim of gambling, that I ask for the grace, oh Lord, to be able to understand that gambling is a waste of time and resources, that you shall not be a victim and you shall not be addicted to gambling. Praise the Lord. Amen. Our memory verse for today, which I would like us to read together on the screen, is taken from Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. We'll be reading that together. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Let's take it in 3, 2, 1, go. Hebrews 13, 5. Let your conversations be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have, for he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Can we take it again? Hebrews 13, 5. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have, for he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Our Bible passage is taken from the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6 to 11. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6 to 11. It says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have heard from the faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Verse 11, the last verse, it says, but thou, O man of God, flee these things, and follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, and meekness. To gamble means to risk something. To gamble means to risk something of value on an outcome that depends on chance. To gamble means to risk something of value on an outcome that depends on chance. Other related activities to gambling are betting, lotto, lottery, gaming, casinos, money doubling, and get-rich-quick programs, amongst others. So, as let's say those are rated, we have as you mentioned, betting, lotto, lottery, gaming, casinos, money doubling, and get-rich quick programs, among others. A quick example, I saw on social media that somebody they made, so they wrote about this person using this betting site used like just 200 kroner to win about 7 million crowns. So as people were now commenting, they now said that don't fall for it. That was an advert. So they made the advert to look as actually it was something that happened. Like this person, he has been suffering and stuff, but then he only maybe puts in like 200 kroner, but now imagine he has already now like maybe 7 million crowns. So they're like, oh, this is an advert. That's how the betting people start to do these days. So they know that people, you are like the thrill, like, oh wow, you mean I'll just put like 250 crowns and I could be winning like maybe 45 million. Wow, all my problems will go away. So it's okay, and get rich quick programs amongst others, and people are fall for this because somebody promised you that if I just invest this small thing, in fact the reward will be multiple. And you see people, you go and pick your money from savings, you go and put it in some scheme that somebody promised you that will yield you bountiful money. He said, although some people often equate lot casting in the Bible with gambling, they are not the same. The scriptures do not specifically mention gambling or betting. Rather, it wants us to stay away from the love of money. The scripture wants us to stay away from the love of money. The Bible also encourages us to stay away from attempts to get rich quick. The Bible also encourages us to stay away from attempts to get rich quick. Gambling most definitely is focused on the love of money and undeniably tempts people with a promise of quick and easy riches. Jesus warns us against letting riches get in the way of our spiritual growth. Jesus warns us against letting getting riches get in the way of our spiritual growth. Quickly, we go through the text review for today, which we took in 1 Timothy 6, 6 to 11. The Apostle Paul, in his letter to Timothy, gives about 7 admonitions for believers as follows. So, media will show some of the passage, and then I want us to pick the points. So, there's a point in each of the passage we'll be showing. So, the first one is godliness with contentment is a great gain. Godliness with contentment is a great gain. So, being serving God and also being happy with what you have, being happy with what you have, being content with what you have, that if you have those two things, in fact, it is a great gain. It is a great gain. We brought nothing into this world, and we can certainly carry nothing out. In verse 7, we brought nothing into this world, and we can certainly carry nothing out. Verse 8, can we show verse 8, and then somebody will pick the point that was mentioned in verse 8. Verse 8 of 1 Timothy 6 to 11. If you're there also, you can read it and then pick out the points in verse 8. Nobody's there. So verse 8, what does it say? And having food and raiment, let us be there with content. So what is the point in this contentment? Contentment. Verse 9.
Temptation and its snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition.
Thank you very much. So, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts. I gave an example some time ago about, let's say, if you have a brother that has been serving God all his life, but when it comes to maybe the financial aspect, the brother has been struggling. And maybe this person now, by chance, played this kind of lottery and then wins a lot of money, like maybe 50 million crowns. So, do you know that even the person that has been serving God all his life, but the fact that he have access to this huge amount of money, idea will start to come. You know, start to say, you start to go online, be checking, okay, Caribbean cruise. You start to go to, okay, how do we go to, let's say, Christmas Island? How do we go to to Barbados? And you start to go there, start to do lavish things, you know, get into all manner of things. Because at that point, you'll be like, wow, there's life out there. That in fact, Christianity is tough. So you see all those ideas start to come. So, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drawn men into destruction and perdition. Verse 10a. What do we have there as a point in verse 10a? That should be fast. Verse 10a says, "For the love of money is the root of all evil." Verse 11a.
That's it. You owe more of God. Flee.
Say, flee these things and follow after righteousness. But the first part is flee these things. All these things. And the last one we have is follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, and meekness. Our first outline is actually to contrast gambling versus lot casting. What do you understand by lot casting?
Casting a lot to an unchristian person means chance. I don't believe in chance. I don't believe in luck. I believe in God. For the Jews, casting a lot, they knew that there's no such thing as chance, and there's no such thing as luck. God decides the lot. That's why they cast it.
Thank you very much for that. So when we have, we're going to dive more into the difference between them, both gambling and lot casting, and then we go into the differences. Gambling and lot casting involve the concept of chance. And as our brother mentioned, when it comes to, let's say, unbelievers, they think it's chance. And there are several examples of lot casting, which is even still used today. For example, when it comes to different type of sports, if you follow football, you know they do like draws. Let's say for Champions League, they will do a draw. Who will be in pot A, pot B, pot C, and so who will end up in which group? So it's like, you know, somebody is going there and then picking. Okay, yeah, you be in the group A, and then you be in group B. Also, in different kind of sports, in table tennis, for example, that we play, if you want to decide who will start to serve, you do some kind of, let's say, okay, you put maybe the ball somewhere, and then somebody will choose, I choose this side, and then when you choose the right side, then you start to serve. So there are other kind of lot casting like that. Even to some point, that some elections, Some election ties are broken with, let's say, either you choose coin toss or whatever. Different sports follow that. So the difference, gambling and lot casting involve the concept of chance. However, lot casting in the Bible was used for religious or divine leading. Lot casting in the Bible was used for religious or divine leading. And there are several examples in the Bible where lots were used, like to divide, let's say, to divide the land, like okay, let's say the different tribes where they should be and things like that. So, for example, we'll go through some different Bible passages also to shed more light on that. So, lot casting involved the concept of chance, both of them. However, lot casting in the Bible was used for religious or divine leading, whereas gambling is related to games of chance for entertainment and possible monetary or material gains. Gambling is related to the games of chance for entertainment and possible monetary or material gains. Basically, gambling and also the institution surrounding it is like big business. You have all these casinos, all these lottery firms. They are not charity organizations. They have a business model that will ensure that they continue to get profit. If you've heard the phrase, the house always, what do they call it? The house always wins. So if you go to all these, let's say, Las Vegas casinos, it's not that they are just giving people free money or letting you to. It's a business model. They have investors, so they have like different models to help to make sure that they have an edge on everything that is being played. The instances of lot casting mentioned in several portions of the Bible are not synonymous with the testing of luck or gaining material wealth. The instances of lot casting mentioned in several portions of the Bible are not synonymous with the testing of your luck or gaining material wealth. They have to do with random selection, seeking divine direction, and making a decision. It was often employed to determine God's will. Can we say Proverbs 16:33? If you are there, you can read for us. Proverbs 16:33.
The Lord is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord.
Thank you very much. So we say it was often employed to determine God's will or to make choices, such as selection of leaders, division of lands, or atonement. Can we see Acts chapter 1, verse 26? Acts chapter 1, verse 26.
And they gave forth their lot, and the lot fell upon Matthias, and he was numbered with the 11 apostles.
Thank you very much. Can we also see Joshua 18:10? Joshua 18:10. If you are there, you can read for us. Joshua 18, verse 10. Joshua 18:10.
Joshua 18:10. And there at Shiloh, Joshua cast sacred lots in the presence of the Lord to determine which tribe should have each section.
Thank you very much. And Joshua cast lot for them in Shiloh before the Lord, and there Joshua divided the land unto the children of Israel according to their divisions. So, class activity 1, have you taken part in lot casting before, and share your experience? Have you taken part in lot casting before? Or do we know what a lot casting means or signifies? Anybody? Okay. We move on to lesson outline 2. Faith and counsel to gamblers. Faith and counsel to gamblers. But I think before we move on to that, I can also maybe give some more applications. For example, if you follow the American justice system, you know that their jury selection also follow this kind of lot casting. They want to make sure they pick people representatives, so they will not go and pick only, let's say, engineers. They will not go and pick only, let's say, PhD holders. They will not go and pick. They will pick people that somebody may be working in the restaurant, pick somebody that is working as a teacher, pick somebody that is working, but to make sure they cover, let's say, different selection of the populace. We also have a sport tournaments that we mentioned about. We also have like resource allocation for where you do like a lot casting for that. But for gambling, what the key thing is there's always a kind of a risk and reward. So you risk something, but with a potential reward. And the time what entices people is the reward should be. You think the reward is much more than the risk. For nobody will tell you now that let's say come and risk 1,000, and then you can win 100 kroner. But there's a chance that you lose the whole 1,000, but the maximum you can gain is 100 crowns. Will you go and do such a thing? But the thing, if they tell you that, okay, if you risk 1,000, but you can win 1 million, you'll be like, oh, wow, that this is something. So you see that there's a risk and there's a potential reward that galvanize people. And there's voluntary participation mostly. People enter into gambling by their choice. You take your own income, you want to go and double it. And there's mostly financial motivations for that. There's mostly financial motivation for gambling. So the purpose is not to make profits. You want is not using it to make decisions. Not like you go to gamble to choose which school your children want to go to. You don't go to gamble to go and see, should I take this job or should I take this other job? You don't go and do gambling for that. You do the gambling to make a lot of money. And for gambling, you see that they are institutionalized forms. It's like organizations also behind several gambling activities, casinos, lotteries, betting shops, and they even have regulations for this kind of thing. So you see that it is big business for several people. Several countries, you probably see that they have one form of gambling or betting or the other. So the major differences is the purposes, the risk and the moral and the ethical perspective of it. So let's outline two: faith and counsel, faith of and the counsel to gamblers. What are the fate of gamblers and what are the counsel that we have to gamblers? Number one, the love of money makes people test their luck with numbers with the hope of making a lot of money without sweat. The love of money makes people test their luck with numbers with the hope of making a lot of money without sweat. But such hopes are mostly empty. Can we see Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 10? He that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. This is so vanity. There's this show I watched back in the days. I'm not sure if anybody has seen it. It's called Silicon Valley. It's like a series of let's say ambitious startups there in the US. So there's one of the characters is like an investor. So he was investing in companies, but he's so specific about being in the billionaires club, because then he was driving one I think Ferrari that opens up, it opens up like a spider. So the thing is, he now wants to invest in one company, but the money they were asking for, I think if he give them that money, he will fall below $1 billion. Is the net worth. He will be maybe 999 something. So it now happened, it now fell below 1 billion. So nobody saw him anywhere. And people were like, what has happened to this person? They went to go and see him. He was there in his house, like very depressed. They said, why are you so depressed? He said that I'm not a billionaire anymore, but nobody must know that. The fact that he fell below the billionaires club, so he felt that, how can I be driving this my Ferrari now in the streets of Silicon Valley when I'm not a billionaire anymore? So you see that to the person, his own goal is, I want to make sure I stay in this club, and then he wants to continue to make sure you continue to do that. Maybe you do even things that are, let's say, beyond things that are beyond, let's say, normal to stay in that club. Some people also will say here that he that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver. Nor he that loveth abundance with the increase. This is also vanity, because the thing is, you don't say, now when I have, let's say, 50,000 in my account, I will be okay, because you want to chase more. You'll be like, okay, wow, I'm in 50 now, but 100 is in sight, and then you do that to also get to 100. So that means nobody is really saying, there's no point to say, okay, now I have had enough. Because the thing is, you want to always get more, you want to always get, and if you notice, in the beginning, the Bible passage says, he that is, if you have godliness and you are still content with what you have, that is great gain. So if you're able to be like you what you have, you are contented with that, and then you are still serving God with all your heart, then that is great gain. Because in this let's say rat race of chasing riches, some people have like even lost their way. You see people start to do things for money, or maybe even business partners that are even duping each other, and then you'll be like, but we are also going to the same church. Why are you like, doing this kind of things?